Oh, here we are. And I was trying to get up there. You saw me trying. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Give me a second. If I can figure this out. There we are. Okay, it's coming. Is it on? Why am I not? This looks goofy. Why does that look goofy?
Where are we?
I don't know. Here we are. Okay. It's been a little bit of a morning, people. Yes, Pearl is here. She's like, here I am. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? Welcome to lesson 1 of the BiCrafty Bootcamp, learning to crochet for knitters. Super excited about being able to teach this today with all of you because you guys have asked for this. You guys have begged for this. You guys have been like filling our inbox about this for a while. So we're excited to be able to bring this to you, especially since a lot of you are actually coming from the knitter or crocheters learning to knit. So teaching knitting to crocheters. If you guys are here from the previous BiCrafty Bootcamp, please make sure that you say hello. And everybody that is here, whether you're watching live or watching on the replay, please don't forget to hit that like button, smash that like button. And better yet, subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. So if you want to make sure that you're updated whenever we go live with the video or release a new video here on the channel, if you hit subscribe and click that little notification bell, you're supposed to be notified when we go live. As you guys know, sometimes we will schedule it for 10 and we might not get on until 10:30 or 10:45 because, you know, it's just life. We're trying to get things to it. So if you have that little notification bell, you will know. Also, we do always update our Facebook group. We have the Marley's Minions Facebook group, which is a lot of fun. And if you're not a part of it, we would love for you to join in. We've put a link to the Facebook group in the video description box below, as well as the essentially the lesson plan for today. So if you want to pull that up on your computer screen, you're welcome to do that as well. So I am here by some Muppets back here. So to speak. You guys probably recognize them usually in their own little boxes, in their own little homes, but they are here visiting. So I'm going to back up and we're going to say hello.
All right. Hi guys, it's Catherine. I'm here with Pearl. I'm loving being here with her. It's so great to be in studio with Marley and actually get to do all this together for a change. We're having lots of fun. I'm going to be in the background so that I can be checking in on the chat. If you have questions during any of this, put it in the chat. I'll make sure we get to it. And I already know how to crochet, so I feel like I got this one, and I can't wait to help you guys learn too.
Can I just say, Catherine is standing up.
I am.
I'm not making fun of her. I'm just like,
I'm 4'10" and a half. I mean, I'm tiny, but Chrissy's short too.
I'm
so,
short
oh my
too.
gosh, your head doesn't even fit in this. Oh my god,
no,
yeah,
you know, your head doesn't
so little.
I mean, come on.
Pearl's taller than Catherine.
She's like, I want to be at the party, girls.
Can I tell you, we have had so much fun the past few days being with Marley. It is great being in here in her studio. So I'm going to step away, put your stuff in the chat. I'm over there answering you.
Oh yes, I'm Chrissy. For those of you that are just joining us who weren't here for our Crocheters Learning to Knit Bootcamp. So those of you who are just joining us, we're really excited. I've probably talked to most of you because most of you have reached out to me to say how much you want this boot camp. We made it happen. We're coming.
I can't pull you over.
Oh,
I was going to pull you over.
We're coming. So we're excited to be
here.
here. We're excited to do this, and it's going to be a fun ride.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, is everybody able to hear us? I have my one microphone. We should be able to be pretty good. Catherine's over there. She's going to be answering questions on the chat. I'm going to minimize this one down a little bit. And Chrissy, you're going to be able to see even more how much things are on delay. Yeah. So
big time.
It's big delay. It's just the way it works. So hi, everybody. So glad you're here. Once again, we do have the lesson plan or the instructions for today. They are up on the website. And for those of you that are all new, let's kind of give them a rundown of how BiCrafty Bootcamp works.
Yeah. Okay. So every week we basically come on each Wednesday, you'll get an email from us, from me or from Catherine.
If
just
they're signed up.
You. Yes. If you sign up, that's a good point. So if you haven't yet gone to the blog, to the BiCrafty Bootcamp Crochet for Knitters,
The link is in the video description
the link
box.
is in the video. If you haven't yet gone there, you want to do that, because if you click that sign up link, that's the only way that we're going to be able to communicate with you. That's where you're going to get giveaway details. That's where you're going to get updates, anything that's going on. You know, it's a 20-week course. If anything happens over the next 20 weeks where we do have to like delay something or skip a week and give you extra time for some stuff, that's where you're going to find that out. And like Marley already said, you definitely want to subscribe to this channel. That's the only way you're going to get these notifications, because our world's not perfect.
Yeah, we do the best we can. We try and let people know on Instagram and Facebook. Those are our jam.
Yes.
Here on YouTube. And then the newsletter really is the best place. That's where the one-on-one connection is going to happen. We're going to do, we have check-ins. And then as she mentioned, it's like, here's this week's plan. Here's what's going on. Here's a giveaway. Here's a special just for you being a part of this. And this is completely separate from the Marley Bird newsletter, you guys. So if you're like, oh, I get all the things Marley Bird, this is completely separate.
Yes.
So you do want to sign up for that. Okay. So it's an actual physical sign in, sign up. And the link to the blog post where it gives you all the instructions and stuff is in the video description box.
Yes. And eventually when this becomes a paid course, this will be a paid course. Eventually you will get a deal, right? So you want to be in that newsletter. That's how we will communicate all that. So then each week on Wednesday mornings, the post for that week will go live. That's when you'll find out what your homework is for the week. And then we will go live. We need to talk details on what day we're going to go live for this. But we'll go live each week and we'll do a live tutorial of that week's homework.
Yep. You guys with it? All right. So BiCrafty Bootcamp, here's a couple of the rules and what I expect from you and what I'm expecting from myself to be able to give to you. So as knitters, because I'm assuming a lot of you are coming in as knitters. Now, first thing, do you have to be a knitter to take this bootcamp? Absolutely not. It just so happens that I am also a knitter. So a lot of the things that I will teach you for crocheting, I will reference back to knitting. So that way you can kind of have those aha moments of, oh, look, I can see what I'm doing here. Oh, look, I already do this in knitting. I just happen to do it with 2 sticks instead of a hook. So I'm going to reference things back and forth, but you can be an absolute beginner and take this course. It is a very in-depth course. And I'm going to say we're going to go fast, but it's not that we go fast. It's just there's a lot of information in each section, because that's just the way I think to get everything into 20 weeks. That's the best way to go about it. Now, you've probably just heard 20 weeks. You're like, what? It goes faster than you imagine. And by taking it step by step, bite by bite, right? My mom used to, how do you eat an elephant? You know, one bite at a time. That's kind of how this course is set up. We're going to take one bite at a time. And I have built it up to where these bites, they're pretty big chunks. It's a chunk of information, but I feel like each chunk of information really works well with the next chunk of information. And the fact that it's all going to be there available to you to go back to and reference will be really good. And as Chrissy said, at the very end, this entire free course right now for you here on YouTube will eventually become a paid for workshop course with a workbook and videos and patterns, and it'll be all the things. You guys are getting this for free. So that we can get your feedback, so you guys can see how we teach, what I like to do, you know, all the good things. So this is really a fun thing for you guys to be here. It's a fun for me to have you here and to be able to work along and build this course with you guys in mind. I do have a couple rules. I'm not a big rule keeper or rule maker or anything like that, but I do have a couple. The first one is I need you to be patient with yourself. I said this to the crocheters who want to be knitters also. This is a brand new skill. Even though you are a knitter, crocheting might not come easy to you at the start, and that's okay. It's okay to want to throw your crochet across the room or to drop your hook and be like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to have to choose what hole I want to go in. I just want it so basically clear to me what I want to do. Like, I get it. I get that there's going to be frustration, but you have got to promise me that you're going to just take a step back and have a little bit of patience with yourself and a little bit of, you know what, it's just sticks and string. I'm just going to be patient. I've got to make sure that I'm creating that neural pathway from my eyes to my brain to my hands, because it's not there yet. Even though you have it with knitting, it's not there for crochet. You're holding a different implement. You're doing different stitches. Now, the chances of it kind of coming rather quickly because you're familiar with knitting is pretty good. But even still, you just need to be patient with yourself and take your time. chances are the first time you learned to knit, you were very frustrated. You were like, what am I doing here? Like, what does she want me to do? Like, and I get that. Like, I remember being that frustrated. I actually think that's what makes me a better knitting instructor, because I was teaching knitting as I was essentially learning to knit. So I understood the frustration people were going through. And like, I was like, these are the things people really need to think about. So as we're going through these lessons, if they seem a little bit fast for you in the sense you're like, I don't fully get it yet, these are recorded. You can always go back and rewatch. Plus, we have the Facebook group where you can come and ask questions. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Facebook group?
Yeah. So in Marley's Minions, so we will go live each week to do this stuff. But again, Marley's Minions is still a very big part of this, right? So that's really our community. That's where we all hang out. It's where we help each other. We've got some fantastic modmins, which if you're in the group already, you got to meet all of us last weekend, right? But we've got some fantastic modmins who really help out. If there's patterns you have questions on, if there's a skill you're not understanding, the entire community there is really fantastic. Everyone really works together to help each other out. It's a wonderful place, right? There's not a lot of safe spaces on the internet, but the Minions group is a safe space. It's a fantastic place to go and meet with people who love the same things you love, right? And I love the fact that so many of us now are becoming BiCrafty. And so it's an even wider array of people that can help you with different things. So, and when we go live here each week, I'll do some giveaways live here, but I will also do some live in Marley's Minions because we get that you can't always join us live. It makes sense. We understand. So I will make sure I spread the love in both places. But you'll love that group. If you're not in there, you really need to join in there. Again, we share, if we're running late on live on YouTube, I always share in there. So that's another way for you to get updated, but it's a great place.
Yeah.
It's a great
It's
space.
awesome. It's a very positive place too.
Yeah.
We keep out any drama. We don't allow negativity. And I mean, we approve all posts. Like it's just, we just try and keep things very safe and secure there. But we also know that not everybody's a Facebook fan. Like we get that. So we love to see you sharing on social media. You know, hashtags are big, right? So on Instagram, I'm at the Marley Bird. And we like hashtag Marley Bird or Marley made me do it or hashtag BiCrafty Bootcamp. Like if you do that, we follow those hashtags to see what everybody's doing so that we can give you thumbs up. Like we try and keep things going to keep you motivated, to make sure we're all here and encouraging and saying, hey, we get it. You're frustrated. Let's walk through. Let's see, you know, what are you doing right now? What are you working on? What is it that could possibly be the problem? Can you send us a picture? Like what's going on? So I guess all of this is to say, I need you to be patient with yourself because we're going to be patient with you. Give yourself time to get this because you will get this. You know, will you like it? I don't know. I have no idea. There are people who learn to knit. They're like, this is not for me. And I get that too. So you just have to give yourself time, give yourself patience, understand that there is a community of people here willing to help you out. Give me just a second, please. I'm trying to connect.
And just don't give up on yourself. I think that's the key component here. And this is something we reiterated to our crocheters learning to knit. Just don't quit, right? You do not have to move at the speed that this course moves.
No.
All of these videos are recorded. You can go back and rewatch them. We have people that are still joining the knitting boot camp today and it's over. So you do not need to feel this pressure to rush through each week's homework. I have to get done this. I have to get done this. If it's taking you some time, take your time. If you pick it up really quickly, fantastic. Let's keep going, but don't quit. Don't quit because it takes you longer. That's like my biggest, I saw so many people getting frustrated. Like, oh man, I feel like I'm not moving fast enough. There is no time limit on this. You can do this. Take your time, learn it at your pace.
Right. So the link to the Facebook group is in the video description box below. As far as what are some of the things we're going to make? Well, one of the things, so I want to kind of preface this with the Knitters Bootcamp took me by storm. Like I didn't expect to go as well as it did. And I didn't we actually expanded it longer than what we originally planned because it was going so well. So with that in mind, we planned this pretty rigorously. And so we have a really good plan of what it is you're going to make. We're going to start off with some really quick instant gratification projects that are useful around the home, right? We will make headbands, spa-like items, a lot of really fun things that are just pretty easy, simple, useful things that you could knit if you wanted to, but it's like, hey, these are fun to crochet. They're very easy. good for gifts, you know, all these types of things. Then we're going to move into some more quintessential type crochet items. We are going to make a blanket. We're going to, I mean, come on, guys.
Exciting.
A lot of BiCrafty people, if they have a choice to make a knit blanket or a crochet blanket, they're making a crochet blanket. Like it goes faster. So we will be making a blanket. We will be making a crochet garment. Like we're going to make a garment, you guys. We're going to make some accessories. There's a lot of different things we can make. And keep in mind, crochet goes faster than knitting. So we're able to take on some more bigger projects in this boot camp than we were with the knitting because of the time it takes to make items. So it should be a good time. Now, having said that, we will give you at least a 2-week heads up of what materials you will need for those bigger projects. Like right now, we kept it within the spa sort of world of what items you need. When it's time to let you know what you need for the next bigger project or the next set of projects, we will let you know to give you enough time so you can get your yarn either at the store or from our sponsor, We Crochet, who we love, which is We Crochet and Knit Picks. Same company, guys. Wonderful people. You guys know my former assistant, Caitlin, is actually the editor of the We Crochet magazine over there now. So we're very excited to have We Crochet partnering up with us this time around, and they are our sponsor. So the hooks that Chrissy is using, and then the yarn that we're all using are all coming from We Crochet. You guys know me. I have to use a bigger hook. I can't use a smaller hook. Like it makes my hand cramp.
I have tiny baby hands.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, you guys. Look at this. Can you look at this? Come here. Look at that, you guys. That is massive.
It's bad.
Oh my God. I feel like a giant here, y'all. So feel like a giant. So anyways, we want to say thank you to We Crochet, but knowing that that's something you have to order off the internet and it has to be shipped and stuff. And there is free shipping for orders over $50, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
Which is really super convenient. So we're going to make sure that we're giving you all the items you need to at least get you up close to that mark. So that way, if you wanted free shipping, you could get it. Now, having said that, I think with the blanket, it's going to be probably a $50 mark. All blankets, whether you go to the store and buy yarn, it's $50.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're definitely probably going to hit that mark for the blanket. And I mean, that's
the sweater.
Yeah. And that's just common. I mean, that's, you would do that if you went to.
It's not exuberant. We didn't choose the most expensive yarns or anything like that. And couldn't you stash dyed? Yeah, you can absolutely stash dye.
You can absolutely stash dye too. We're not limiting anyone to anything. We really love We Crochet. They've really gone above and beyond to sponsor this entire event. We love them,
with prizes and gifts and all sorts of fun things.
Yeah. So they have great products.
Yeah.
So we're happy to sponsor them. Yeah. We're happy to promote them.
Yeah. So those are the products. The lessons will be out each week. When the course becomes a paid course, you guys will get an extreme discount. And all that really means is all of these videos will be coming off of YouTube and be coming underneath, they're going underneath the paid wall essentially, and it'll become a paid course with the full booklet, all the lessons, all the patterns, everything put together, curated into a really nice thing. And I want you guys to be able to have access to those as you're going along, because I want you guys to look at me as I'm your crochet teacher. I'm the one you're going to keep coming back to learn how to do this stuff. And so I want to make sure you have access to that. So, and that'll be coming down the road. Don't think it's going away right away. Let's be honest. I am not that organized. So you're going to have time. So and you're
going to want it though, because it'll be really neat to be like, you know what? I was part of this. I helped them pilot this program. I was there for all of this. I got to see them be weird and crazy on live. So,
but don't think I got to keep up right now because it's going to go away right now. That's not going to happen right away. We'll give you a heads up.
Yeah. We're not going to yank it from under you.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. All right. So having said that, I think I'm ready to jump in. I need to go get some water though, because my face is parched.
My face is dry. I'll go get your water because I gotta grab mine too.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Let me see here. Somehow this is acting like it's a phone call. Stop acting like it's a phone call.
Oh, is yours upstairs?
I don't know. I actually, you know what? I'm gonna drink a rock star.
Okay. In that.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to have my rock star. This is my weekly rock star, you guys. It's actually, we've been working so hard, y'all. They made me pull out all of my old samples and such and decide, what needs to be republished, what hasn't been published at all, what needs to go into storage. And sad note, I'm missing an entire bag of items that I know I have somewhere. I just don't know where they are. So we got to find those. But we were up until, well, I took them home at 11:30 last night. HR nightmare.
HR nightmare.
11:30. So they were here as I opened my Rockstar. I know it's bad for me. I'm just drinking it. They were like, when did you guys get here? Like 9:30 last night or this morning? Yesterday.
Oh my word. We had breakfast at 8. So yeah. We got here
about 9:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then they left at 11:30 last night. So we had a very full day. So I'm a little bit tired, but it's all right. We're good. My car is locked. They're in my purse. Just take my purse out and you should be able to open it. Yep. Okay. So if you guys are good, I'm going to turn off this mic, transfer over to the phone mic and start with the hands. All right. I haven't even said hello to everybody yet. Catherine, should we say hello to everybody? I feel like, look how many people are here.
I know. I'm like watching it move and it's exciting.
Oh, here, I'm going to make this a pop-out chat so you can see it while so you'll be able to like look.
I'm so excited that I've been watching so many of you came from the knitting boot camp, which for those of you that are just joining for the crochet boot camp, that's kind of a testament, right? Like how excited they were that they're even here for this, even though they don't need to be, right?
Right. Yeah. All right. So you have this here. It's two fingers and it's like intuitive, whatever. You should be good. What are you looking at me?
Just because I'm not a Mac user. I know how to use the mouse.
Do you? But mine's set up differently. That's why. No, because usually like if you go like this, usually that means it scrolls.
I got it.
But mine's the opposite.
Okay.
That's the reason.
You got it. That's fine. I get it.
I mean, you're talking to a girl. I had to watch a video called Tech Boomers to learn how to do a reel. I mean, for real. Like I had to do reels
this week.
Been trying to figure out reels. Trying to figure out reels. You know what I do need to get? I was gonna grab. How about some yarn? There it is.
There it is.
I found it. Like, where's the yarn? I'm together. I got this. All right. So you can go ahead and I'm going to move this back. So that audio is going to go off here in just a second. Oh, I need you to do it.
Oh, what do I do?
Here, let me see the mouse.
Here you go.
Sorry,
guys. This is
not used to having two people here. This is different. All right. There we go. That should be good. Yeah, I don't need to hear anybody though, so I can just turn that one off. Everybody can hear me all right, right? Like I'm not blowing anybody out now. It should be good. Oh, let's see. Let me know what they're telling me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's first talk about crochet hooks, which I know you're probably familiar with. You've seen them before. But let's just talk a little bit about some of the different ones and why I like what I like. Do you have yours? Okay. Mm-hmm. So this hook right here, this is a hook from We Crochet. You can see it's a very rounded hook at the tip and it's a very inclined hook portion, right? It's a very sharp. It's sharp right there in an inclined portion. What I like about sharp hooks like that is that if I am going along and I need to get into a stitch and I'm having trouble, I can actually use my hook to pull out the stitch to get into it. Okay. Think of it like a pointy knitting needle being able to get underneath several stitches to do like a knit 3 together or a knit 4 together or something. That sharp tip there, that sharp tip back here can be really handy. At the same time, if you are using a yarn that snags a lot, this sharp tip can get caught between your strands. And so you have to be very careful with that. This is a nice wood handle. It has a little indentation right here, and that's where you would keep your thumb. And so it's your thumb rest essentially, whether you hold your hook like a pencil, or hold your hook like a knife. Okay. The size of the hook itself, the diameter, it's diameter, right? It's like each hook is the same as the diameter of the hook. So as you get a little smaller, each of these are a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. They're all a little bit bigger. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to everybody? So it's a really cool multicolored hook. It feels good. I mean, it doesn't bend on me as I hold it or anything. It feels really nice. It's not too short. You guys saw how big my hands are. It's not so short that it's going to cup off the back of my hand, which is important to me. Okay. Now, as we look at some of the other hooks out there, you guys have probably seen just the basic Susan Bates hook. Very similar in that it has a nice kind of sharper point. It's not as sharp, but I really like how it has a pointy top for the same reason of being able to get into a stitch. I can just, it's like just a point, it gets in there really well. Is that super important? No, but I like it. Okay. There's a lot of debate whether you are a Bates fan or a Boy fan. And the difference here, besides, we're not going to look at those handles, but can you see the tips? See how this one's very rounded and it's a very rounded inset on the inside. Can you guys see that? Versus this red one is much more pointy and inclined. Okay. This is Susan Bates. This is Boy, B-O-Y-E.
Are you a Bates or a Boy, Marley?
I was a boy. I learned with a boy. When I started working for Red Heart, you guys know that Susan Bates is a Red Heart company. So I had to switch to Susan Bates, which it was difficult. And what usually happens is what you learn on is what you tend to use. And so what I've realized now is that I crochet just a little bit differently when I use a Bates versus a hook. And it's so that way the stitches, because they grab differently.
Yeah.
So as I switch from a Bates to a hook, because I will do it sometimes, I find that I have to just, it takes me about 5 minutes before I start to get in a rhythm. So it's not that it's impossible. So all of you out there that are like, oh, I could never switch. You actually can. I did.
Yeah.
It literally just requires you to crochet just a little bit differently.
Yeah. I interchange, but I'm a boy. I'm a boy girl.
Yeah, I was absolutely a boy. So you've seen these. So that's the Bates. Again, it has the thumb rest. This portion of your hook right here. So you have your incline portion and this is the throat. This portion here, this diameter around there, that would be equivalent to like your diameter around your knitting needle, you guys. So if you think of the tapered edge of your knitting needle, it's the same as it's the tapered edge of your crochet hook. And then, you know, when you knit, you want to make sure you get up here to this size of your needle. Same thing, when you crochet, you want to make sure the loop around your hook is the same size as this portion of your hook. You don't want to make it this portion and you don't want to make it too big, right? Because then it's no longer like the size of your hook doesn't even matter anymore. So the gauge of your hook is determined by this portion here. It's this round portion here between this throat and the thumb rest. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Seeing those together, doesn't it look kind of, it's like, oh, look, that's tapered, just like my hook, my needle is tapered. Oh, I get that. You know what I mean? It's pretty easy stuff. Now there are other needles out there, right? Like these are Laurel Hill. They're wood needles, all sorts of different kinds. Again, you can see that the size of the needle itself, it changes the size of the handle of the needle. Like the smaller ones has a little bit smaller. These are wood. They're not as inclined as the other. They are sharp at the tip and the point, and they're real nice and lightweight. I mean, if you like these, they're a good choice. They're a nice needle or a nice hook. I like them a lot. And guys, you can interchange the word needle and hook all the time, and I will. So it's not that I'm just like, oh, she's a knitter or whatever. I learned to crochet first, y'all. So I am primarily a crocheter. So I get this, right? These are the things that we just kind of forget. Again, basic hook. This is an Addy hook. Notice the Addy hook has a boy type hook portion, right? It's a boy type hook portion, and it has this nice grip. And these grips down here, they're all the same size. So no matter if these are smaller or bigger, these grips are the same size. So like, for example, let me get these over here. I'll show the swings. Obviously I pulled the one that's not the same, right? But this is the 3.75. You can see here, these ones here, they're the same. You know what I mean? They're different hooks, but they're the same size. You see that? Then you also have the Addy swing. This one is more ergonomic. It's supposed to rest better as you're gripping it like so. You can see it grips really well. The thumb rest is up here like this. Now I don't hold my crochet hooks like this. So that means I have to hold it like this, which to me, that makes this hook really, really hard for me because it adds a lot of weight up here and it's hard for me to use. Can I use it? Yes, but it's not my go-to as I hold it like a pencil. You guys see that? Okay. When I use Addy hooks, I tend to use these ones, and the yellow portion here, or whatever the other colors are, that's where my pencil, that's where my hand would go. And I have found these very comfortable. Now, over time, I've tried a bunch of different hooks, because as I crochet, my hands get really tired and they cramp up. So I was like, I'm going to try different hooks. I was like, I'm going to try out some of these different, more ergonomical hooks out there and give them all a whirl. And I've tried them all. You can see I have them all. And I do have favorites. Obviously, you guys know there's plastic hooks, just pretty basic. But you can see all of these, they're all the same idea as far as the hooks, right? Like they're all just a little bit different. Like this one's more boy clover, right? More boy clover. Isn't that tulip? Yeah, that's a tulip hook. That's how the tulip looks. It like has like no, there's like no place to put. I cannot use this one at all. Like I can't use that hook. Then you have the furls hooks. They have a little bit of an indention. There's still not a whole lot there. It's a very rounded tip, not very pointy there. It's very bulbous. It's supposed to be good for pencil and knife holders. I don't find these very comfortable for me as a knife holder, because as I hold my hand up here, it starts to slip and I start holding it down here. Then I'm readjusting and it slips and I hold it down here. Like it's not, I can't hold it all the way up here and make it comfortable. And then it's too short back here for me. These are not comfortable for me. And I have other ones too that I've tried, but I don't find these comfortable. Do you like furls?
I like furls. I like these, the candy shop ones, and they're bulbous shape. Because I have arthritis. So it helps to keep my hand open. And I'm I'm a knife holder. So for me, when I close my hand around it, it's better for me because it keeps my hand open a little more.
I mean, I could see that as a knife holder. I could see where this is very comfortable. Absolutely. As a pencil holder, I struggle.
I could see where that would be really
it always is falling, always. Yeah. And I keep trying them because I like the people that own furls. I like them. Yeah. It's just not for me.
Right.
Okay.
I could see that.
It's a pretty hook, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
Tulip, I can never get my yarn to stay on and my friends love tulips.
I don't think I've ever used a tulip.
Oh my gosh. Like my friend, Rebecca Velasquez loves tulip.
Yeah.
I can't use them. I can't use them. Like they are weird. So then it comes to these, right? And they're all, except for this one, says, pull this one out. There's Susan Bates hooks, right? There's Susan Bates hooks with a different handle. These ones here are all from Lether and Company. You guys have been around for a while. You know, I've interviewed Lether and Company. They make the handles, they buy the hooks and stick them in the handles. So you buy them as like this. Now, I think they have gone away from doing Susan Bates and they're now doing these type of hooks, which is why I don't use them anymore, honestly, because I can't use this hook very well. I've tried. I love the handle. I love it even as a pencil holder because see, it's something about the grip spaces on there. I hold it really well. My hand doesn't slip. It feels great. Like it feels really good. These ones, I like these too. I like how the pencil or the thumb grip down there, I don't actually put my thumb on it. I use my finger on it, but I like my hand is not cramping. It feels good up here. It also feels good as a knife holder, right? It feels good. So I like these. They aren't too heavy. They're pretty. They're really nice and smooth. They're great. But honestly, you guys, I saw these. You guys all know I love color, right? I love color. And I saw these in a Facebook group and I was like, oh, those are neat. What are those? I'm like, well, I'll give them a whirl. So I bought them. And ever since I bought these, I have used these primarily for everything. And these are Touche crochet hooks. I get them on Etsy. There's a affiliate link in the blog post. So you guys can absolutely check it out. I like these ones where the thumb rest is actually covered. So that way, like I can have my thumb all the way down here. It's like that little circles where I put my thumb and these just feel so good. Like my hand does not cramp at all. Now, are these going to be great for you? I don't know, but they feel really good for me. I don't know if that's wood or do you know what that is? Wood or plastic?
I don't know if it's,
I mean,
it looks
like wood. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It looks like wood that has been laminated. I don't know what it is, but I can tell you that ever since I've used these, I've enjoyed crocheting again because my thumb doesn't cramp up down here. So that's like a quick lesson on crochet hooks. I guess the bottom line is when it comes to crochet hooks, it's just like your knitting needles, you guys. It's a personal preference. You have to decide what is going to be best for you, like, because we have all sorts of different types of needles, right? These are brass with a kind of pointier. These are nickel plated with a more rounded. And then you have, I can't remember, Chaigu, much more pointy, really nice. I mean, there's all sorts of different needles. Same idea happens when it comes to crochet hooks. You have to find one that works for you. All right. So that's my little spiel on crochet hooks.
I expected that to be heavier.
No, it's so light, right?
Yeah,
I love them. So I'm going to be using the blue one today. Put these away. Any questions so far?
No, it looks, everybody's agreeing. Everybody's talking about their different hooks that they're going to try. We're getting a lot of good feedback from that.
Oh, good. I'm not trying to poo-poo on furls, guys. It's just they don't work for me.
Yeah.
I wish they did because they're beautiful.
No, and I'm a big fan of furls. I really do like them, but I just said to you guys in the comments, don't overcomplicate it. Like if all you can do right now is get a dollar hook from the dollar store, go and do it. Yeah. Guess what? If you can create with it, it's good enough.
All you need.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. That's all you need. I just wanted to give you some different options.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love, for me personally, like I said, I have arthritis. So an ergonomic hook, I have to use. I can't use teeny tiny hooks for long periods of time. It really hurts my hand. For these spa projects, these hooks from We Crochet are actually perfect. I just crocheted the headband this morning sitting in Marley's living room and I loved it. It was very smooth, went right through my yarn. It was fantastic. And for small projects, I can absolutely use that. For bigger projects like our blanket.
It's real light.
Yeah, I love how light it is because that's another thing that hurts my hands. But for larger projects, I have to have ergonomic hooks because of my arthritis. But you don't have to have, everything at one time, right? But you go out, when you figure out what you like, you go out and get what you like.
Yep. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to demonstrate how to hold your hook with this one since you can see all the parts of it. Okay. So obviously we have the thumb rest right here. And as I've been mentioning all along, you can hold your hook like a knife, which many of us that knit hold our knitting needles like this, right? You can also hold it like a pencil. All right. So you can hold it like a pencil. Both ways are perfectly fine. Both ways will get you crocheting and you can do either one and continue to follow along with this course. All right. I'm going to continue to show you how to do it with a pencil because I am all thumbs when I try and hold it like this, which is funny because this is how I hold my knitting needles, but something about holding my crochet hook like this, you'll see I always go back to this. And I think my assumption, conjecture, my belief is that you end up holding your hook, not only the way that feels comfortable to you, but the way you learn. So like if the person teaching you holds like a pencil or a hook and you are trying to mimic them, then you tend to learn that way. Yeah. But I'm trying to tell you guys, don't 100% mimic me like this. If this is uncomfortable for you, but this is comfortable and this gets you to where you need to go, hold your hook like this. Like absolutely.
Yeah.
I do grip my hook down here. I do use my thumb rest or something approximate to a thumb rest. Okay. Because remember, I want this section here to be free and open. So that way I can have my loops go there and be the correct size because gauge does matter even in crochet, you guys. All right. Okay. So this is how you're going to hold your hook. Now, as you're crocheting, you want your hook portion essentially to be like to the side of where you're going to be. Now that's with your right-handed or left-handed. It's the same thing for right or left-handed, whether you hold it like a pencil or a knife. Here's the funny thing. When I crochet left-handed, I hold it like a knife.
Yeah,
I totally do. I hold it like a knife.
More stability probably.
And it's more familiar with knitting.
Yeah.
So I can crochet left-handed, but I hold it like a knife. But you hold it to the side. And when you're going in and you're grabbing your yarn, as you're pulling this hook through your stitch, you rotate it so that the hook goes towards the bottom. Because what we're going to do, let me grab a piece of paper here. I had a piece of paper. I'm going to use this one. As you are doing your stitches, you have your loop on your hook, right? It kind of looks like a teardrop, sort of like a knit stitch, right? So if you have your hook like this and you're going through, going through the stitch, you have your loop and you're pulling your loop through another loop, your hook there tends to get caught like over here on this edge. But if you rotate your hook upside down to where your hook is now down here, pointing down, it like fits through your teardrop stitch better. That looks really graphically bad, but you guys understand what I'm trying to say, right? So as you're crocheting, you're not always going to just keep your hook always to the side like this, right? As you are grabbing, you have your yarn on here, you're going to be pulling a loop through a loop. You're going to be turning your hook to pull that loop through. Just not like completely, you're not going to be like super dramatic about it, but you're just going to be tilted a little bit so that way that hook doesn't get caught on a loop. All right. Does that make sense, y'all? Mm-hmm. As far as holding your yarn, we're going to hold it in our left hand, or if you're left-handed, you're going to hold it in your right hand, which that's going to be the most tricky part, I think, for those of you who are knitters, who are throwers coming into this, because you're so used to holding your yarn in your right hand, you're going to be holding it in your left hand. All right. So we're going to jump in now to putting a slip knot on our hook. And then we're going to hold our yarn. I'm going to show you how I hold mine, but you are going to hold your yarn the best way that works for you. And we're going to create chains to begin with. All right. So make your slip knot just like you would in knitting. I'm going to explain how to do this just for those of you who might not be knitters. Take this tail of your yarn, put it in the palm of your hand. Take your working yarn, wrap it around your forefinger and your middle finger and come back up. Then cross over. Okay, you see how you cross over? Rotate your hand, take your hook, go underneath that front loop, grab that back loop, right? Like that hook, grab that back loop and pull it off and take your fingers out. You have yourself a slip knot. Okay. What I like to do is I will take the tail and I kind of hold it aside, like I pulled it out of the way so it's out of my way so that I have my slip knot right here. I want a different hook. I'm going to use the blue hook, not only because it helps me, but it'll be a different color than the red yarn.
And we're using a H hook right now, right? Okay.
Yeah. So I was just using this because I was showing you.
I'm just asking what size.
Oh yeah. So
H.
I'm using an H hook because I felt it worked really well with the Dishy. Now the Dishy says on here, it says an I through a K and it gives them a stitch count like for a gauge. So just so you guys know, the labels on yarns, those are not the only sizes you can use for that yarn. You can use whatever you want. I liked an H hook with this. That's why I'm using the H. Like my head wrap we're going to make right here. I like the way those stitches are. So I'm using an H. You can use any size hook you want, honestly, guys. Okay. But I'm using an H hook, which is a 5mm for those of you who are not in America. And here's what I'm going to do. So I grasp my yarn. I tend to wrap my yarn around my pinky. So I take my pinky and I wrap it around my yarn twice. Then I take my 3 fingers and I go underneath and I just come up and grasp this. Now, do you have to hold your yarn this way? No. This just over the years, this is what has worked for me. I don't know why. My grandmother did not teach me how to hold my yarn this way. I just started doing it. So here's the thing. Remember what I told you guys about muscle memory and neurons and all that stuff? Like you're going to find a way that works for you. Maybe it's threading your yarn just through your fingers like this and holding it.
My pinky. I just go under my pinky and up over here.
So show them on the screen.
So I just go under my pinky. So this way, under here, and then over my top finger. So I just don't wrap it like she does.
Yeah.
And then I'll just hold it like this. And this is where I'm working from, that tension here.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrap around my pinky and then I go underneath and then I use my pinky as like it's a tension. So like you'll see me move my pinky like this to pull yarn and give tension.
Yeah.
I do it in knitting too.
Yeah. See, mostly it's my pointer finger that I use first. So my pinky is holding it tight, but mostly I'm like right here. And this is what I'm moving.
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
So I am putting it under my pinky, right? And then I'm putting it over my top 3 fingers, grabbing this here. And this is really what I'm using for my tension. It's my pointer finger. As I'm grabbing and I'm pulling through, I'm moving this finger the most.
But your pinky is really holding that snug.
Yeah.
So it's keeping good
so
tension.
it is. My pinky does keep good tension there. I just don't wrap it, but my pinky does keep pretty good tension. Now I do have to readjust every once in a while and redo this, but for the most part, it's probably my rings too.
Yeah, right.
It holds in between my rings, and that's where I get my tension.
That's so interesting. Yeah, so that's what I do. I have friends though that they'll put it between their fingers, like they weave it through their fingers, and still they hold their pinky as tension, but it helps them to grasp what they need. So all of this is to say, find a way that's comfortable for you to hold the yarn. Don't think that right now, today, this might be the way you do it forever. Just give this a try. Okay, so hold the yarn in some way that you're getting some tension on it. Now for me, I like to always grasp my stitches as I'm making them because it helps me control how big they are, and it keeps control of where they are in the process of getting them made, because they want to twist and turn on you and it can be confusing. So what we're going to create is a chain, what's going to be called a foundation chain. Knitters, you can think of this as you're creating your cast on row. All right, we're creating a row that we can then begin to build onto to create fabric. Knitters, you can also use this chain to create a provisional cast on. So this is a very useful thing to do. It's also used really great if you use this to cast on underneath, like if you're making a sweater in the round, if you want to cast on for armholes, if you want to put stitches on hold, you can chain through the stitches and put them on hold. There's a lot of really great uses to learning how to chain.
So I just want to say, Padawan Kenobi brought up a good point. They said, you know, I am really, really tight right now, so I'm going to go up a hook size. And that's actually a great point. So your gauge will be off usually when you're first starting, right? People tend to be either really, really tight or really, really loose. So if you find that while you're doing that, sizing up a hook size or down a hook size to try to get it a little better tension is probably a good idea.
Yep,
so that was a good point.
So as we're making this chain, we want to make sure that we aren't pulling on our yarn to make our chain super tight. Just like when you're knitting, as you're knitting along and you finish a stitch, you don't pull on your yarn. So, because remember that pulls up the purl stitch from the row below and it makes the stitch on your needle really tight. What that does in crochet is it makes your chains really small. It makes it impossible to get into. It makes your gauge off. So to get started here, wrap your yarn, find some way to hold tension on your yarn. I like to take my middle finger and my thumb and I hold like my slip knot in place. And with my hook, I'm going to go from the left side underneath and come back up. All right, so I went underneath. Now here's the difference here. I want you to think about this. Think about, I just went into a, like this here. I'm going to help you guys. All you knitters out there, pretend this is a stitch here and this is a knitting needle. We would go into the stitch, right? And then typically we would yarn over, right? We'd yarn over this way. Crochet is opposite. Everything we wrap in crochet is opposite, unless there's those instances that are different, but you literally are going to be over the hook. When we go into the stitch as knitters, we come this way, right? We come this way and then pull through. We're actually going to go this way as crocheters. So we're here, we're going to come over. My hook's to the side, but I want to pull this loop now that I've pulled over. I want to pull it through this loop on my hook, just as if I was pulling it through a stitch on my needle. But as I mentioned, I don't want that hook to get caught in that loop. So when I pull this through, you guys, I want you to see, I'm going to kind of turn it this way. I'm going to rotate my hook. So my hook is underneath through the teardrop and it comes through nice and even and easy. Now I'm not going to pull really tight right now, because if I do, it's going to tighten that up. It's going to tighten that stitch up. I don't want that. What I do want is I want this loop on my hook to be the same size as my hook, right? I want to make sure it's not the size of my shaft. I want it the same as my throat, right? My throat. Yes. I want it up here. Once that's done, you'll notice that I regrasp my stitch here. It looks like a V, looks like a V in knitting. I just put the pad of my thumb on the top of that V and I do it again. Go from left to right underneath and then pull that through. See how that looks like a V? I'm gonna put the pad of my thumb on it. Left to right. Pull that through. Adjust up. Pull that through. As you're doing this and you're adjusting up, you're gonna notice, hopefully, whether you're getting them too tight, if they're looking uneven. But if you are keeping it nice and consistent and going slow, just like this, and not pulling extra tight after you create the stitch, you're going to notice they're going to be nice, even, and consistent. Around and up. Around and up. Now, if I don't move my hand up, I want you to see, it becomes a little bit willy-nilly. My stitches start to want to get a little bit tighter and a little bit unruly, right? So I tend to move mine up at least every stitch or every other stitch. I will move the pad of my thumb up and go like this. Now, the other thing that this does, you guys, is you'll notice it's keeping my chain nice and even and long, and it's not letting it twist on itself. Can you see how those look like V's? They look like the top, they look like a knit stitch. And on the back, there's going to be a bump, just like a purl bump. I call that the butt of the stitch, you guys. So you have your V on the top and you have that bump, that bump on the back. Sometimes that's called a third loop. I call it the butt of the stitch. Okay. Once you get 10 of those, I want you to take it out and start over. Wah, wah, wah. All right, so I'm going to start from the beginning again. I'm going to make a slip knot. So I put the tail of the yarn in the palm of my hand, take my working yarn, wrap it around my forefinger, middle finger, come back up, cross over, rotate my hand over, underneath the front loop, grab the back loop, pull it through off my fingers, and you have a slip knot. There's a whole video on how to do a slip knot on my YouTube channel, guys. So if you need more instructions on that, I will have Catherine put a link to that in the video, or in the, well, I'll put it in the I button up there. And then we'll also put it in the blog post. All right, once you get the slip knot on there, oh, you know what? I didn't mention this. Leave yourself at least 4 to 6 inches in a tail, guys. You don't do this. Don't be this person that leaves this little tiny tail here because you're like, oh, I'm going to run out of yarn. Don't do this.
You'll regret it.
Yeah, do not do this. Always leave yourself a nice long tail so you can weave it in later without any issues. Like, just do yourselves a favor. Do that for everything. Like, I do it for everything, okay? Leave a nice long tail, just tuck it out of the way. Here's my slip knot. I like to grab my slip knot so that I have some stability here. And I start again. I have my yarn wrapped around my hand. Take my hook. I'm going to go from left to right, go underneath and up, and then pull through. If you're left-handed, don't laugh at me, y'all. I will do my best to get left-handed videos up here for all of you left-handers who are like, how do you do this? So for left-handed, it's different, right? You're not going to go from left to right. You're going to go from right to left around. You're going to hold your piece and pull that through. Regrip, right to left, and pull that through. Now I'm looking like a lot of you out there, huh? I look like a beginner. Isn't that, it's refreshing? Is it nice to see? You guys love to see me fail. Just remember, as you pull this up, you want that loop to be the same size as your hook, right? So don't pull your tension here too tight, because it's not really only tightening up here, it's tightening up down there. You want to be real careful about that. So you're going to go from right to left and then pull that through. So this is if you're left-handed. Right to left and pull that through. So if you haven't figured it out yet, left-handed, you're like totally opposite everything that I do. It's basically right-handed, you're here, you're going from left to right and pull that through. Here's the funny thing. I'm going to do this a couple times. I want you to see here the difference. You can see where I switched. So I was doing right-handed there. That's where I switched to go to left-handed. See how the chain looks a little different than I did left-handed. And then this is where I switch to go back to right. Doesn't look as different as the left.
No, but you can see.
You can see a difference.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to just do right, but hopefully that helps those of you out there who might be left-handed. What I want you to do right here, guys, I want you to get 11 chains. And how you're going to count that, unless you're sitting here and you're just counting each one as you make it. Once you get to where you have 11, I want you to count the V's. Count the V's on the top of your chain. All right, let's get 11 of them. Or however many. I mean, it really doesn't matter. We're just going to do a little something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I'm going to rip back. And I have 11. Now here comes the next part. This is a very big, important part. You guys ready? When you are counting chains or stitches or anything, you never count the loop on your hook. Everybody repeat after me. Type it in the chat if you are watching live. Never count the loop on your hook. Type it in the chat for a chance to win a free pattern. All right, Chrissy will randomly choose somebody who types it. Type it in there. Never count the loop on your hook, which means if you're supposed to count 11, you're going to count 11 of these V's as they are in the chain behind the hook. So never count the loop on your hook. All right, so if I wanted to count this direction, I would go, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You guys with me there?
Yes,
all right,
sir.
so we have 11. Never count the loop on your hook. All right, so I'm going to pause here for a second because this is where we're going into the big crux of it all, guys. So this is the big mama jama of the information, and then we're going to just continue on, and it'll be like you're getting little bits after this. This is the big part, right? Because this is our cast on, essentially. This is where we've started. But there's things that are different in crochet from knitting at this point. All right, so I want to be able to show you what they are. So I need you to pay attention. I'm going to make sure you guys have all the stitches you need.
They
there.
got it.
They got it.
Never
Awesome.
count that loop. I already picked a winner.
All
Rebecca
right.
Plusa.
Rebecca Plusa, you are the lucky winner of one free pattern from the Marley Bird Ravelry store. If you want to email us,
I
you
put
got
it
it
in there in the chat. I put to email me.
Yeah,
I tagged you there.
contact@marleybird.com. All right, so here's where crochet is different from knitting. And guys, forgive me, I'm going to bring in a knitting piece that I was working on yesterday in a class. When we are knitting, we cast on, right? And we just turn our work and we just start knitting the next row. We don't have to worry about the height of the stitches the next row, nothing like that. We just turn and just start working. So if we have 50, or like for this example, if we have 42 stitches in our knitting, we cast on 42 stitches, right? Well, that's different in crochet, because in crochet, as we turn our work and come back, you guys already know crochet, it has different stitch heights, right? So we're going to be turning our work and single crocheting back. But what if we were doing a half double or a double or a treble or a double treble or a double treble or a shell or something else, something else. What essentially has to happen is you have to plan for that height of that row in what is called your turning chain or your beginning chain. So don't confuse your foundation chain with beginning chain. This is called the foundation chain. And there are foundation single crochets, foundation double crochets, foundation trebles, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to learn those later on. But this is a foundation chain. And when you go to work your next row, whatever it is, you have to start off with turning chains or a beginning chain. And those turning chains or beginning chains are essentially steps to get your stitch or your stitches from your hook to the same height as the row you're getting ready to create. So let me try and do this a little bit visually here. Even though you guys don't know chart symbols yet, I'm thinking you'll understand how this works. So we have 5 chains there. So those circles represent chains. If we wanted to do a single crochet in the top of each of those chains, okay? Then as we get to the end of our row here, and we're going to turn our work and go back that direction, we need to make sure that whatever is going to go right here makes it so that this chain on our hook or our work is going to be to the same height as those single crochets. So the rule of thumb here is when you do a single crochet, that is equal to the same height as one chain. If you were to do a half double crochet, that is equal to the height of 2 chains. That looks like an 8, but that's 2 chains. If you were to do a double crochet, that's equal to the height of 3 chains. If you were to do a treble crochet, that's the height of 4 chains. Do you guys see a pattern here? Do you see this? So when you have a pattern that tells you to chain 1 and turn, chain 2 and turn, chain 3 and turn, it's telling you, hey, in order to make this step right here for the next row, the correct height for all of these stitches we're going to create, we have to do a chain 1 or a chain 2 or a chain 3 or a chain 4 and so on and so forth. So as you're going from one row to the next, there are different stair steps or turning chains, your turning chains, to get you to the correct height. So you can think of the 1 step is just 1 chain, 2 steps is 2 chains, like 3 steps is 3 chains, 4 steps is 4 chains, so on and so forth. Does that make sense, right? Does that make sense, Chrissy?
It does.
Okay.
It does.
I mean, this is one of those things that it's like, well, why do I have to do this? Well, so this 1 here, this would be equal to a single. The 2 would be equal to a half double. The 3 would be a double, and that one would be a treble. I hate that pen. So do you have to remember this? No, this is written in a pattern, but this is me explaining to you why, when I tell you right here that I had you chain 11, and as we work our row of single crochets, we're only going to have 10 single crochets at the end. Why do you guys think we're only going to have 10 single crochets? If we chained 11, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I'm going to put my 11 up there. And I told you we're only going to have 10 single crochets. See how that works, you guys? Do you see the chain is my turning chain? Okay. That right there is my TCH. It's a turning chain. So really, it was chain 10 plus 1. You see that? So if this were knitting, we would have just said cast on 10, right? We would have turned and it said knit 10 stitches. But because it's crochet, we have to chain 10 plus 1 for our turning chain, which gives us our chain 11. And then we're going to single crochet back. You guys with me so far? I need to hear a hands up.
Someone already guessed it before you even said it.
Awesome.
One chain, the skip one as the first chain.
That's right. That's right.
Turning chain. Yes. So
right.
They got it.
Fantastic. All right. So here's the other cool part. So, I mean, without you guys even knowing anything about crochet diagrams, right? This is probably helping you a ton, right? Because think about this. We chain 10 plus 1. And that 1 is this outlier out here. And then you see these little crosses, they represent single crochets. And there's 1 in each one of those chains, right? So that lets you know, oh, look, I'm going to skip 1 chain and I'm going to put a single crochet in the second chain from my hook. So when you read patterns, it'll say single crochet in the second chain from hook. Do we count the loop on our hook? Do we count the loop on our hook? Everybody says no. I hear you guys. I hear all of you. No, Marley, we don't count it.
Never count
the loop on your hook. So let's put this in action. Okay, guys? I need a dry erase board. That's what I need over here.
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. So we have our 11 chains. Now, hopefully you have not made them too tight to where they're going to be nearly impossible to get into. And if that's the case, that's all right. Rip it out and do it again. I mean, that's how we learn, right? When the pattern says single crochet in the second chain from hook, you don't count the loop on your hook. So you're going to go, there's one chain, there's the second chain right there. It looks like a V, right? Now, you can go into that back loop of the V. You could go into the front loop of the V. You could turn your work over and go into the butt of the stitch. But here's what I do, you guys. You ready? I essentially pierce the V 100%, where essentially I'm putting the back loop and the butt of the stitch on the top of my hook. Can you see that? So the bottom loop is down there. The back loop and the butt of the stitch is essentially on my hook. So I've just pierced in. This is just like I went through a stitch on my knitting needle. Now I yarn over. This is just like we were chaining, okay? So if you remember, we were chaining here. We went from left to right to go under. It's going to look like this. It's going to go, it's like you're taking the yarn, and it really is, if you're yarning over top of your hook. If you get stuck, it's opposite what you do in knitting, okay? It's opposite. So you go over your hook, and now just like in knitting, we're going to pull that loop through this loop right there, right? So I'm going to pull this right through that and pull it up. In knitting, we would just be going on to the next stitch, right? We would have 2 stitches here. But do we have 2 stitches here? The crowd says, no, we don't have 2 stitches, Marley, because now we have 2 loops on our hook, but we're going to complete our stitch, because here's the next big lesson for you knitters. You ready? When you're crocheting, you are binding off each stitch as you go before you go on to complete the next. So this is going to be like a stretchy bind off. You guys ready? So you're going to yarn over your hook and pull through both of those loops to where you have 1 loop on your hook, which does it count as a stitch? No, but we have this down here, and that is our completed single crochet. Okay. If I were to tip my hook up, you're going to see it looks like a V right there behind the loop on my hook. You see that V? That V is the top of the single crochet you just completed. All right. That V, that was the loop that was on my hook before we yarned over and pulled through 2. That was my original loop on my hook. That's what that V is. That V is important because that V is going to be the last stitch of the row on the next row, right? We want to make sure we can identify that V. So you're going to take this stitch marker, and we're going to put that stitch marker right through both legs of that V. You see that? Not the one on our hook, but the V behind the loop on our hook. The V that represents the top of our single crochet. All right, this is going to help us keep our edges nice and straight. We're going to keep that there, okay? Okay, now this is where it can get very hard keeping control of your work and not letting it twist around. So as knitters, think about this. It's like these are your stitches that are resting on a needle. It's like these are all on a needle right here, right? And we have to go into each one. So if you hold them in your hand in such a way that they can kind of represent like they're a needle for you, that might be helpful. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. So with the needle there as a representation, just so you guys can have something there as a representation, right? It's like, let's say like we're having that stitch is on the needle, and we're like, oh, we're going to go into that stitch. Now this right now, it's like, oh, that stitch is on the needle. I'm going to go through it. So I go into the stitch, and then I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to come out the stitch, and then it would come off, right? That's what we've just done. And then you'd be like, all right, I'm going to keep carrying on. But nope, we have to bind this off. So we have to yarn over and pull through 2. Notice there's another V at the top. There's our finished stitch, and we go on. So I'm going to move the knitting needle. Let's do this again. I'm going to the next chain because that's the next stitch. I'm going to go into it. Once again, I'm going in so that the back loop and the butt of the stitch are essentially on top. Here's, guys, I don't know about you guys. I hold my stitch marker to give me like a balance. Like I'm like, oh, it's straight. Here's where I'm straight. So I go in, yarn over, pull up. Notice both of my loops are the same size as my hook. Okay, that's very important. Yarn over your hook. Again, it's yarn over, notice I grasp my fabric down here, just like when I was holding my chains and keeping them consistent and steady. I grasp my fabric and I pull that loop through, or I pull that loop or the string I just yarned over through both of those loops on my hook and up. That's a single crochet. We're going to do that in each one. And at the end of the row, we will have 10 single crochets. So you will go just like so. So I'm going to say it out loud. You ready? Insert your hook into the chain, yarn over your hook, pull up a loop. Make sure when you pull it up, you make it so like you're like parallel. All right. We want to be parallel right now. This will change with different stitches we create, but for this one, we want to bring it up parallel. I'm trying to teach and talk and do all the things. So you hold it up parallel, yarn over your hook, and pull it through. Now at this point, don't like tighten it up. Be like, oh, I gotta make that nice and tight. Look at that. You're not gonna get into that. Come on now. I thought you wanted to learn to crochet. You're not gonna learn to crochet if you do that. You're gonna hate life. So if you need to undo it, you just take your hook out, undo that. You have a loop. That loop goes back on your hook. Look at that. No frog. I mean, that's your frogging. That's what it is. No tinking. That's your frog. So you go in, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. In the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Into the chain. Last one is a little bit tricky. You'll know it's the last one because it's right by that slip knot. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. If you have held everything nice and straight, your fabric's going to look just like this. It kind of looks like little knit stitches, right? Underneath, little knit stitches. And that is a single crochet. A single crochet is relatively square. So if you were to look at a gauge swatch for single crochet, it usually has the same number of stitches as rows equal the same. I'm going to set this down for a minute. I'm going to take a drink. Chrissy has everything going.
Good. Everyone's loving it. We've been real quiet the last couple minutes. I'm assuming because they're working alongside you.
Yes.
So, but no, everyone seems to be getting it. We don't have any questions right now.
Awesome.
Rebecca said she did it. I did it.
That's so
I
good.
love that.
That's
so good.
Lots of people also saying they love the visuals. They love the diagrams.
Yeah,
good.
Love your
If they're
pictures.
gonna learn more of that. They're loving it. It's helpful to
Awesome.
them.
Well, good. All right. So here's going to be the test if they learned what I said before. Okay. So we're at the end of the row. Just like in knitting, you would turn your work, right? So this would be like, this is in my, so all of my work is now in my right needle and my left needle is empty. Okay. So this is where I'd be taking all of my work and putting it into my left hand, right? And getting my empty needle in my right. This is where it would be. This is exactly what we just did. So this was here. We're just turning this and putting this essentially in our left hand, right? Just like knitting. When you do that, we're now going to be working back. So this is now, we're going to be looking at the wrong side. This is going to want to twist around on you. You're going to have to pay attention. All right. We know that the last stitch of this row, as we're going to be working back on it, is going to be that one right there, that one we marked, which is going to be very helpful. It's going to help us keep our edges nice and clean. But as we turn and work back, what's the first thing we have to do? As we turn and work back, what is the first thing we have to do? So I'm going to get a new color.
We've got a delay. Remember, we have a delay. So it takes a second for us to get your answers.
Yep. I'm going to grab a color here. All of my stuff is like a fine point. I'm like, it's not going to show up. Here is a black. Okay. I think
it's coming.
Somebody got, that's right.
There we go.
Chain one. Caitlin says chain one. You're absolutely right. So on this row here, we chained one, right? Like we had that worked into our turning chain or in our foundation chain. We single crocheted across, and now we want to go in this direction. So we're down here at the end. So we need to chain one, and we're doing chain one, not only because I'm telling you, but because we know this next row is going to be a row of single crochets.
And I got to pause because technically Gloria Massley is correct because she said, place the marker.
Not yet.
Oh, after our chain one.
After you single crochet.
You're right. You're right.
Nice try.
I thought you were right, Gloria. I got excited for you.
No, not yet. So you're going to chain one. And that we're doing that chain one because we know our row is single crochets, and we know over here, just because I told you, right, a chain one represents a single crochet essentially in the same height. So as we're coming back this way, we're going to chain one, and you'll notice in the chart, the chain one is out here. It's not in the middle of the mix here, right? Because we're not actually working into that chain one. It does not count as a stitch. The pattern doesn't tell you it counts as a stitch. The chart doesn't tell you it counts as a stitch. All of the stitches are in here. There's nothing worked into those chains. So we know as we do our single crochets back down this row into the top of each of these singles, we will not put a single crochet into that chain one, not only because we know we're not supposed to, but because this stitch right there has the marker in it. And that stitch is the one that we already know is the last stitch of the row. So we're not going to go past go. Right? We're not going to do that. So we're going to chain one. We will single crochet in the top of our very first single crochet, and then we will add a marker, Gloria. It's at that point. So once we complete that single crochet, we're going to add a marker into the top of that one, because that will let us know it's the end of that row as we come back that way. So what will happen, guys, is you'll have markers on either side, and you move them up as you get to each side. You move them up. All right. I'm going to show you this in action. Hopefully this makes sense. Almost to the end, guys, I promise. All right. So I'm to the end of the row, and I went ahead and turned, right? In a pattern, typically it will tell you get to the end of the row, chain one. So it'll tell you what you're supposed to chain and then turn. Now, here's a word to the wise, guys, or why. It doesn't matter if you chain one and turn or turn and chain one. It doesn't matter. Either way works. It does not matter. So we chained one and turned. Now, here's a big mistake a lot of people will make. They'll be like, oh, I see that right there. That must be my first stitch. It is not. Do we count the loop on our hook? No, we do not count the loop on our hook. Do we count this stitch right beneath our hook? No, because that's the chain one we just did. And we already know we're not working into that chain one. So we got to go find the V at the top of our single crochet. And here's the cool thing, y'all. You kind of see that hole right there? You see that big hole right there? If you stick your hook in that hole, and when you look at the top of your hook, if you see like the V is resting on the top of your hook, you're in the right place. Okay. And this is for, unless a pattern tells you otherwise, you work through what's called both loops, okay? So you work through both loops unless a pattern tells you otherwise. And that's what this is. When it says both loops, it's referring to the top of the stitch. It's that V right there, okay? So we did our chain one. We're gonna take our hook, go into our first single crochet. Does everybody see where that hole is that I'm going into? Can you easily see that? It's right there. We're going to go into that single crochet. And if you want to double check, you want to make sure you can see that V on the top of your hook. And now this is just like we did before. We're going to yarn over, pull that yarn over through our stitch and come up, yarn over, and we're going to bind off that stitch. We have that nice V behind the loop on our hook. I'm going to grab a new marker. I'm going to put it through that V. Now I know what the first stitch is of this row, which will be the last stitch of the next row. Does that make sense? So now I carry on. So if I'm looking at my work here, look, it wants to twist on you. Okay, it wants to twist on you, and it's going to be confusing. So you're going to have to be very careful. Make sure you just hold things really nice and straight and take a look at it. Pretend it's on a knitting needle and that you're holding it straight. Okay, so you're just holding it straight across. Find the next hole. You see that hole there? And if you aren't sure if that's the right one, put your hook in it and then look up. Does it have the V on top? If it does, you're in the right place. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Make sure your hook is parallel with your work. Yarn over. Again, I like to grasp down here because it keeps things really consistent. And then pull that loop through. Don't tighten this up. Don't pull it through and then tighten it up. You see that? That's not good. We don't want that. So if you need to rip it out, take your hook out, pull out those loops till you get back to your one loop, put it back on your hook and continue. In, around, out, yarn over, pull through 2. In, around, out, yarn over, pull through 2. In, around, out. When you pull this up parallel, you'll notice that that loop and that loop are both the same size as your hook. You don't want it like this. See how that second loop there is much bigger than the first? You do not want that. You want all of your loops to be the same size as your hook. So as you make other stitches, guys, you're going to notice that the first loop you pull up at, sometimes your hook's going to be like this. And then as you work them, your last loop will be parallel like this. That will make more sense as time goes on. But for a single crochet, you have your hook parallel and you pull through. So I'm going to keep going all the way to the last stitch of my row, which I don't have to guess about because I have my marker down there. So I'm just going to get down there. And I know you guys can pause this video and rewatch. So I'm just going to keep on cruising all the way down. Here we go. And I'm to the last stitch. And you can be like, oh, where's the last stitch? Oh, Marley's so smart. She had me mark it. So you can see I marked it through the V, right? Which is the 2 loops. So if you just stick your hook right through where your marker is, you'll see there's your V, right? So you know that that's the last stitch. So yarn over, pull up a loop and pull through. Now you can remove this marker and we will move it up here in a minute. But you're at the end of the row. See? And your edges are nice and straight. So you would chain 1 and turn. Why do you chain 1 and turn? Because we have to do that stair step to get to the next row. Chain 1 and turn. Everything's nice and even and straight. We go to start. You do not work into the chain. You don't count the loop on your hook. You find where your single crochet is, where that V is. Go from front to back, go into it. Check to make sure your V is on top. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, draw through 2. V behind the loop on your hook. Move your marker up. So now you have that stitch marked so you can find it again. And we do it all over. Any questions so far?
We're looking good in the chat so far.
Okay. So far, this is really good. There's only a couple more things I want to make sure you learn before I'm going to let you head off and do your homework. Okay. So I'm going to get to the end of the row here. And one of the things that I've added to the headband for your homework is a single crochet 2 together and a single crochet 3 together. I wasn't intending to show you how to do these decreases, but honestly, in order to make the edge nice and straight, nice, you have to use those stitches. So I'm going to show you how to do them. Okay. So I'm at the end of my work. Once again, I chain 1 and turn, put a single crochet in the top of my first single crochet, move my marker up. So you undo your marker and move it up. Just like in knitting, guys, if you want to mark the right side of your work versus the wrong side of your work, you can do that as well. You could just use markers just right on your fabric so you would know. All right, so then you would carry on. I'm going to show you how to do a single crochet 2 together, it's just very intuitive. Okay, guys? So let's bring in our little chart here because you guys seem to like this. And we're going to come over here. We have a single, a single, a single, a single, a single. Let's go to 5. All right, just because. So let's say we did a single on the first one, and let's say I want to do a single crochet 2 together over these 2. So what that will look like, it looks like this. So it's telling you, oh, we're going to pull a loop up from that one. We're going to pull a loop up from that one, but we're going to only have 1 V at the top. So we're going to take 2 stitches and bring it down to 1. All right, that's what this symbol is telling us. All right. In order to do that, you're going to go into so let's say this is the one stitch I want to go into, and that's the next stitch I want to go into. So I go into this one, yarn over, pull up a loop. So I have 2 loops on my hook. Now I'm going to go into the next one, Go into the next one, yarn over, pull up. Now I have 3 loops on my hook. Now I yarn over and I draw through all 3 loops on my hook. I still only have 1 V, right? I have one, what I call a top hat in the chart. I call that a top hat. So I have 1 V, but I use 2 stitches. There's 2 legs there that I use to get that 1 V. I'm going to show you one more time. A single crochet 2 together. You go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, draw through all 3 loops, and that's a decrease. Now, how do you think you would do a single crochet 3 together? I know you guys know this. I know you know this. So let's pretend we just finished with singles, and then here, I'm gonna do this right. So we did that there, right? And then we went and turn. And let's say we did a single here, and let's say we wanted to do a single crochet 3 together. We're going to pull up a loop from that one, pull up a loop from that one, pull up a loop from that one. So we'll have 4 loops on our hook, right? Because we have 1 on our hook already. We'll pull up 3 more loops. Then we'll yarn over, draw through all 4 loops. So we're going to get 1 top hat, and that's going to be our single crochet 3 together. You guys with me? So right here, we're going to go into the first one, yarn over, pull up a loop. Go into the next one, yarn over, pull up a loop. Go into the third one, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you have 4 loops on your hook. They're all the same size as your hook. You yarn over, draw through all 4 loops on your hook. You're left with 1 V, right? 1 stitch, but we use 3 stitches to get there. Now you will use that stitch, that single crochet 3 together. That's the very last stitch you'll use on the edge. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you guys with me there? I have to fix it. Sorry, hold on. Okay, hold on a second. See if I can get this to work. Oh, I apologize, you guys. My mom tried to call me. Okay, so I have the 3 together. You're going to use that 3 together at the very end of your head thing you're going to make. So it's going to be right there. And it's at that point, you're going to make a decision whether you're going to use chains. Can I use yours real quick? I'm going to take it off your head.
Take it right off my head.
Okay. Once you get to that point here, you are going to have 2 options in your homework. You're going to see you have an option to work chains to have your piece. So then you will chain 50 off of that chain or that single crochet 3 together. You'll chain, you'll chain 50 at this edge. So that way you'll have a tie edge over here. Okay. On the opposite side, when all of that is done, you're going to come over here. We're going to join with a slip stitch, single crochet across, and then work a single crochet 2 together, single crochet 2 together, turn our work, and then a single crochet 3 together. And then if you did chains on the opposite side, you'll do chains on this side. Now I'm going to show you what I mean here. Your homework is this, you guys. You're going to chain 50. Okay. You're going to chain 50 and then chain 51. And then you're going to single crochet in the second chain from hook and in each one across, that you will have 50 single crochets. You're going to have 50 single crochets. Then you'll chain 1, single crochet across, so on and so forth. You're going to have a total of 5 rows of single crochets. All right. When you get to the end, I'm going to take this off so I can show how this works. When you get to the end of that 5th row, you're not going to chain 1 and turn. You're actually going to chain 1 and then work along the short edge of your work. And I'm going to show you what I mean on this little swatch here. You guys have just about everything you need to know for this first lesson in order to move on to the homework. I'm going to give you another idea for homework too. Just a second. I'm going to get to the edge here and pretend this is our 5th row.
Amanda Greska wants to know if they should be using the dominant color that they got the 2 balls of, or it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. All right, so let's pretend this is the end of my row 5. On row 5, you're not going to chain 1 and turn like you've been doing all of them. You're going to chain 1 and you're going to rotate your work so you're working along the short edge here. Okay. Now I only have 4 rows here, so we're going to do this for 4 rows. But what I want you to do essentially is you're going to work single crochets along the edge. I know that for you knitters, this is going to freak you out. You're like, where do I put my hook? I don't know where to put my hook. Honestly, just stick it in there. You can stick it through an actual stitch if you want, like the base of the stitch. If you have a hole, like if there's a hole that you can put your hook in, do that. If you want to put your hook around the entire stitch, you can, right? It doesn't matter. We're going to work 1 single crochet into each row along the edge. So we have 5 rows. So you would work 5 single crochets. For me, I have 4 rows, so I'm going to work 4. And I'm not worried about that not being completely even down there. I'm good. All right. So I would work 4 single crochets and I just literally worked around that last single crochet down there. I just worked around those single crochets. You guys see that? On the next, so you would chain 1 and turn. And remember, I'm supposed to have 5 rows here, but I don't. I have 4. So the instructions say to do a single crochet 2 together. So we chained 1 and turn. You go into this first one, yarn over, pull up. Go into the next one, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, draw through 2, all 3, I'm sorry, right? Then the pattern says to single crochet 1. I don't have 1, so I'm not going to do it. So it says single crochet 1, and then it says single crochet 2 together again. So we'll do that again. So you go into the next, yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the next, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops. You'll be left with 3 stitches. I'm left with 2. I know I keep saying that, but I know you guys know that, but I'm just reminding you. I had 1 fewer rows than you do. You'll be left with 3 stitches, and that's where you will do your single crochet 3 together. So in essence of trying to pretend, you'll go into the first one and pull up a loop. You'll go into the next one and pull up a loop. You'll go into a third one. Let's just pretend. I'm going to put one where there's not supposed to be one and pull up a loop. So you'll have 4 loops on your hook. And you'll yarn over and draw through all 4 loops. Then you have to decide what you're going to do for your piece. Are you going to bind off at this point? If you were to bind off, you will essentially chain 1 and cut your tail, leaving 4 to 6 inches. If you bind off, you could make an I-cord and then tie an I-cord onto here for straps, okay, for ties. If you don't want to do an I-cord, if you're like, man, I'm into crochet, I really want to crochet this, fantastic. You just finished your single crochet 3 together. So now all you're going to do is chain 50. Nothing else, nothing special. You're literally just going to chain 50. All right. So you chain your 50, you get where they are. You cut your tail. You pull it up, give it a tug, it finishes it, right? So now you have one edge of your hair. You're like, well, what about over here? Well, the instructions say to, make your work go around, make sure the right side is facing. You're going to join with a slip stitch. So I need to show you how to do that. Okay. It's very simple. You go into where you want the stitches to be joined. You're going to go in to the stitch without anything on your hook. Take your yarn over your hook and pull up the loop. Yarn over and draw through that loop and tighten it up. That's a slip stitch. Let's join with the slip stitch. I'm going to show you one more time. Go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through that loop and give it a tug. You'll see it just tightens up, joins with the slip stitch. Now that it's attached in there as if it was the same yarn, you would chain 1. Why do we chain 1? Because that's our stair step, right? We need to do single crochets here. You chain 1 and we do the same thing we did on the opposite side. We're going to put a single crochet at the edge of each row. So you would have 5 single crochets.
They want to know if you can slow down and show going around those stitches on the side.
Sure.
I think
sure.
And you might be overthinking it, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be in a perfect spot.
No.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, guys, literally just stick your hook in wherever. Like this one, there happens to be a hole there. I can stick my hook right there in the hole. If I wanted to, like I have like that looks like the post of the stitch, I could stick my hook through like a post of a stitch there and kind of have, you know, stitches like a butt of a stitch there and something there and work through. I could do that if I want. Just don't overthink this. It really is just stick your hook in, just stick it in, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. Find the next row right there and come up, pull up a loop. Now, if you are like, oh, I can't find my rows, just get 5 single crochets in there. Make sure one's over here, and fill in the center. It's okay, guys. There's so much more leniency in crochet than knitting. Like, just make sure that they're in there as even as possible. Now, I need one more, I think. So this is where I was talking about the hook is really handy. So let's say I wanted to put one in that space there. I could use my hook to like hook underneath that yarn and get my hook in there. See that? You guys see what I just did? It's like I hooked underneath it to get my hook in so I could create a stitch.
Marlene, Michelle was asking if you can tip the camera down just a little bit more so she can see a little more of the swatch than what she's seeing.
Oh, I'll just have to move this up. If I try and tip it down, it goes vertical. That's what my problem that I'm having right now. Do you have your blue? Can I use your blue?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Here, I'm going to use a different color for this part so you can see. So this is as if you're doing the opposite end of your 50 single crochets. All right, guys? It's kind of like changing colors in knitting. I'm going to go into the edge over here. I mean, your edge, actually, it won't be where your slip knot is. It'll be on the opposite side because you will be on the wrong side, or it'll be on the opposite side, but regardless, stick your hook in, yarn over with your yarn, pull up a loop. Yarn over your hook, pull that yarn over through the loop on your hook and tighten that one up. You want to tighten that up. See how that just tightens like a knot around? It's like you're attaching it to the actual project. Okay. Now our yarn is attached to the project. We can continue on. So we're going to chain 1. That's like our stair step. And now you are going to have 5 single crochets along this short edge. As long as you get 1 over here at this edge, 1 over here at this edge, and 3 in the middle, that's what we want. Okay. So I'm actually, let's see, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do 1 here. So I'm just going to put my hook. Tell me if I get out of frame.
Yeah, you're doing it.
1 hook right there. Come over and pull up. Yarn over, draw through all 3, or 2. I'm going to go in right there. And if I don't like it, I can rip it out. I mean, it's really okay. I'm going to go in right here. And because I do want one down here at this edge, I'm going to grab into that space right there. I'm going to actually go into a stitch there and make one. Now, when you're counting these, you don't count your slip knot, not your slip knot, your slip stitch or your chain as a stitch, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll look like 5 because that's your chain 1. Don't count that. You're at the end, you chain 1 and turn. And this is where you would do your single crochet 2 together. So you go into that first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, draw through all 3. You will then single crochet 1 and then do a single crochet 2 together again. Now remember, I have 4, so I'm going to take that one out. So this is where I would pull up a loop on 1, pull a loop on the next, and go through all of them. Chain 1, turn, and then this is where you would chain, or you would do a single crochet 3 together. I don't have 3, so I'm going to do the 2. If you do the chains over here, you'll do the chains over here. So you just start chaining 50. Once you get all those 50 done, snip your yarn, give it a tug. Now you have all these little ends to weave in, but in theory, you have a nice little piece here. You can put it around your head and you can tie to the size of your head. Now you might be like, why'd you make it a tie? Why didn't I just make this chain long enough and then just sew it over here? Well, the reason I did that is because cotton does stretch over time. So if you did that and you made it to fit your head right now, the minute you get it wet and it stretches, it's not going to fit again. So I like ties because that way you can adjust and make it tighter as needed. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. Once you do that, you really don't have to do a whole lot with these ends down here. You don't have to, weave these in at all. You really can't. I just leave them. I actually cut them a little bit shorter and leave them. But as far as your tails here at the start, we do want to weave those in. And we're going to, because we're working with cotton, we're just going to tuck them in as we normally would. We're not going to necessarily bury them because it's a little bit harder to bury with cotton. But I'm going to use the red tail and the blue stitches. That way you can see how this would work. But I go underneath the legs of my stitches. I'm going to go underneath them. I'm threading through. I'm actually splitting yarn. I am kind of burying. You know what? It's because I normally do it. I just tuck it through. I'm going to pull this through this way. Okay. Now that's not enough. When you crochet or when you weave in your ends on crochet, you want to at least go back and forth 3 times like a snake. So I usually will skip over one more and then come back. We have this nice seam sort of thing here, which is really handy. So I come back and then I do it one more time. So on this last one, I will actually split through the actual yarn. It's like burying in my ends. I'm splitting through the yarn and I'm coming back through. And I will snip and that end will be nice and secure. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody?
We're looking good.
Okay. So as you can see on Chrissy's, she did her ends here, and then she did chains, came her through, did chains, and then she has her ties here. Now she did fewer chains than what I told you guys to do, so yours will actually be longer. That's because we were testing it out. We didn't know how many chains to do. And we were like, that's not enough. So not enough. But you can adjust the chains as necessary. Like if you want fewer chains, you can do that. If you want longer chains, you could do that. But once they're all on there, you just put this on your head. I would put it on to where you put this at your forehead, tie it at your forehead, and then take the whole thing off and then put it on to where this is in the back of your head. That way you don't tie your hair into your tie. You know what I mean? If you want the I-cord, and you got the I-cord maker, or maybe you like knitting I-cord. I love I-cord, guys. You'll make your I-cord however you want to make it and just tie it, or not tie it, weave it in, sew it into the edges here. And you want your I-cord also to be it's just long ties. You know what I mean? You could do chains, you could do I-cord, you can do whatever you want. You just sew it on, but it's going to be the same process. You just tie and do what you need. Now, the cool thing is, guys, if you are making these, my plan with this is when we eventually learn how to make like flowers and such in the rounds, you'll be able to come back and make a flower or something addition to this, like to make it something fun. But for right now, it might look really plain and that's okay. All right. But I will tell you, I love using these things when I'm taking off my makeup at night or just to pull my hair back out of my face. Like they're just really nice and handy. And with the Dishy yarn, like that's what we're using. I've never used this before, you guys, and I am so happy with it. I'm not a really big fan of cotton yarn, and this feels really, really nice in my hands. I'm very, very happy with it. So I'm excited that we chose this yarn. Having said that, if you're like, man, I really like this, but I still want to single crochet some more, one thing you could do is make a very simple single crochet dishcloth with the Dishy. Okay, I think you have enough yarn from what we told you as far as how much you need to make an extra dishcloth. So if you wanted to make a dishcloth with your Dishy, you like a single crochet dishcloth, you could just single crochet. Like, I mean, if this is 50, that's pretty big. I would probably chain 29 and then have like 28 back and forth. And just work back and forth, keeping it nice and square, and make it till it's about a square, and you can have yourself a nice little dishcloth. Really basic and simple. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to the other screen. All right, so we should be back to this screen here. You guys should be able to see us in the speaker view. Let's make sure everything is good here. That's on mute. All right, we're on delay, so I'm gonna just wait here just a second to make sure that you guys are seeing me, because it's
tell yet.
It's weird. Still can't tell. Still can't tell. Still can't tell.
Waiting.
And maybe here. Maybe, yeah, there we are. Okay. So we have learned about crochet hooks, how to hold the yarn, how to hold the crochet hook, how to chain, how to single crochet. What does a turning chain mean? How do we do a single crochet 2 together? How do we do a single crochet 3 together? How do we use our stitch markers? How do we weave in our ends? How do we work on the edge of our piece? And believe it or not, you guys got introduced to stitch diagrams. That is a lot of information in a beginner crochet 101 class. But you know what? I think it's the perfect amount, because you can really take all this information you just learned today. And if that's all you ever learn in crochet, you would be a crocheter. Like, you could make an entire career just with what you learned today. Okay, because there's yarns out there that already change colors. You don't have to change colors. You learned how to do a slip stitch. So if you needed to join a new yarn with a slip stitch, you know how to do that. So you know everything you need to know to actually move on and be a crocheter. Now, does that mean like, whoop, that's it, we're done? No, there's obviously a lot more to learn. Just as when you're a knitter, when you learn to cast on, knit, and bind off, in theory, that's all you need to learn to be a knitter. This is the basics. This is the beginning process of how to become a crocheter. So what I need you to do, you guys, is really practice. If you want to grab some scrap yarn and practice just single crocheting in general, that is a great thing. One thing to do, you could just chain, just to get used to doing your chains. Work some chains and make sure you're keeping track of those chains so that they're nice and flat and straight and even, to practice your tension. I did all that. And maybe you practice that a couple times before you move on to your dishing, before you move on to your head wrap. These are okay things to do, but you have to practice. If you don't pick up this hook again until the next lesson, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not going to learn. You have to practice this. And crochet is much faster than knitting, guys. Like, what did those take us? Like 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, this headband will take you 20 minutes once you get the hang of it, right? And you're going to be like, I got to make all the headbands. And you can, because here's the cool thing, guys. Everybody wants these. Everybody in my life, I mean, my kids have long hair, boys and girls. They love pulling their hair back and they just getting it out of their way.
Yeah.
I have kids from my track team. They saw like the different headbands that I wore when I was at, in Colorado with them. Those are so cool. I mean, these are fun things to make. So if you're looking for something like quick gifts to make, maybe for teachers as they're coming up to the holidays, maybe something for coaches gifts, maybe a bridal shower, maybe a baby shower, like a gift for mom. These are really fun things to make. So you can absolutely have a lot of fun with them. Maybe you get really excited. You're like, I'm going to add beads to the tail of the chains and I'm going to do all the things. Hey, awesome. Share with us, please. Remember, hashtag Marley Bird, hashtag Marley made me do it. But this is an action-packed information. I mean, we've been on here a while, a good hot minute, and there's a lot of information. Catherine has been making sure that she's updated the blog with any extras that I've been saying that maybe I might have missed in the blog post. So make sure you check out that blog post for the lesson. That's the lesson plan. The link is in the video description box below. So everything you need is down there, including the instructions for the headband. All right.
And remember, at the bottom, I always put links to extra things you might want to learn. There is a single crochet dishcloth pattern that you can also use if you want to keep practicing. So that link's right there in the same lesson too at the bottom.
Look at you. That's why she gets paid the big bucks.
Oh yeah.
But we did try to give you as much information as we possibly could. If we had some standalone videos of things that could help you, we did try to put those in there. But as always, if you have questions, ask us in the Marley's Minions group is the best place.
Yep.
But here's what I want you to do for a chance to win an I-cord maker. All right.
Yes.
for a chance to win an I-cord maker. These things are awesome. If you have not seen me use this yet, is it in focus? I guess because our eyes are in there. I used it. I know I gotta hide my eyes. I used this when I was making the stocking. This thing is amazing. It's so fun. It's great for knitters and crocheters. If you want a chance to win this, in the comment section of this video, not in the live, but in the comment section of this video, I want you to tell me what your favorite thing you learned today. All right. What's the favorite thing you learned today in this lesson? Put that in the comments. Before we go live in the next lesson, Christy will choose a winner for this awesome I-cord maker. Okay. So we're giving you a chance to win an awesome I-cord maker. And
it's very neat.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. It's very cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's really well made. It's from Prim.
Yeah.
So there you go. You need to leave a comment in the video or the comment section of this video, not on the live. I mean, we love your comments on the live, obviously, but make sure you leave your comment in the comment section of this video. Don't forget to thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe. And last thing, you guys, if you have not watched my video on my Google hack for, adding bookmarks and folders to your bookmark bar, watch that video and then just add the bookmark into the Marley Bird folder of your bookmark bar for my blog for this particular, the BiCrafty Bootcamp. So that way you don't have to always go searching for the link for where the bootcamp is. It'll always be there for you. All right. Yes. That's everything I am like parched.
I bet you are.
It's a lot. That's
a lot of talking.
And it's funny because, I only crocheted like this little tiny thing, right? That's all we did. But there's so much packed in this little tiny thing. And the great thing is I'm so happy. Honestly, I'm so happy you guys understood what I was using here, because this to me is like the building blocks to become a better crocheter.
Yeah. They loved it so much. They loved that we were doing chart reading day one. They loved it. We were showing them how to do that. So we had a lot of fans of that.
Good.
So they loved it.
Because crochet is so wordy. There's so many words. And so I'm like many of you, I'm very visual. So the minute I was introduced to charts in some way to understand what the words were telling me, it was like the matrix became clear to me. Like I was like, I got this. So I'm glad you understand. You got that. We're really going to go in depth with charts a lot through the entire course. We will have written instructions too, all the way through. So don't worry. And this first headband pattern, we did write out all of the words. We didn't use abbreviations. But moving forward, we will begin to use actual crochet abbreviations, because I don't want to give you guys crutches and then have you always only read my patterns. That's not fair to you. I want to be able to give you the information you need to read all of the patterns. So I'm going to give you important information as it is, rule of thumb across the board. I have my own little words and stuff, the way I say things, but the way I write things, the way I teach things, the way things are instructed, they are the way they're supposed to be done. So that way you can take any pattern and follow along with it. You don't have to only, I don't want to be your only teacher. There's a lot of really great teachers out there, and I want you to be able to follow them too. All right, guys, that is it for me. This has been almost 2 hours. Hope you enjoyed your class.
Yes, so much fun.
If you liked this, you guys, please, please, please tell other people about the BiCrafty Bootcamp. It is so important that you guys share the love of this class with other people. I mean, it's one thing for me to go out there and be like, this is really good, you guys, because I'm the one teaching it. But when you guys are taking it and telling other people, that's super important. So we really do appreciate that a lot. Thanks again to We Crochet for sponsoring this video with the yarn and the hooks and all the things. I can't wait to see all of your projects. Again, share with us on social media, #MarleyBird, #MarleyMadeMeDoIt, or MMMDI, or #BiCrafty Bootcamp. I'm Marley Bird. This is Chrissy. That's Catherine. And we'll talk to you guys again really soon. All right, guys? Okay, let me see if I can figure this